First of all, I want to thank Jerry for making the trip up here today. And I've just started to get to know Jerry. We're going to work well together. And so I appreciate the sacrifice Jerry and Don made. They're up real early, driving up. I also want to acknowledge Senator Dix as well, who's here. He didn't have quite as long of a drive, but Bill has already been a big help and will continue to be throughout the campaign. And then Senator Zahn's back there hiding somewhere. He's got a student at UNI that plays football, and so he's going to see his son and help out a guy like me today as well. And so thanks to you guys for making the trip. We look forward to working together. Willard, I've always admired you. You're right, we come from different corners of the party, and maybe in more ways than one, but you're a guy who I've always looked up to. Thank you for your service, and I think he's a guy who we ought to be thankful for the work that he's done for this community. So I want to give Willard a hand. And then I need to thank Walt Rogers right back here. We've been talking about this run for office thing since way back before 2006. Our first conversation, I remember, was at Gallagher Blue Door, and he was setting up for an event, and I was thinking about running for the State House. And I kind of said to Walt, I mean, am I crazy? And Walt, I thought he was going to tell me I was crazy. And he said, you need to consider this. You need to do it. And so we've kind of been on that track ever since. And I appreciate you introducing the folks today and being an encouragement along the way, and look forward to working together throughout this. I want to introduce my family. They're going to be the part of this that you're going to like way more than me. They're going to be the part that we're going to showcase as much as possible. And so I told them I wouldn't drag them up here. The girls are in pink. You can introduce yourself to them later. My wife is Jen, and our oldest son is Mason in the black there. I had some friends here who've known me since I was his age, and they say he looks exactly like you. And I'm afraid, you got a little pink flower there. I'm afraid he might act a little bit like me too. Jillian is our 4-year-old, the talkative one, and Gentry is our 1-year-old, and I'm just thankful for their support. It was last fall when I came in from raking some leaves, or actually blowing them around with my lawnmower, and I've been thinking out there, and you know, we've been considering this run for quite a while. We had people, Justin in particular, was calling me all summer, telling me the numbers. You need to do this. And so I was thinking out there on the lawnmower one day. I came in and Jen was at the sink, and I said, you know, I think this train is leaving the station, and I think we're going to be on it. And Jen kind of stepped back from the sink, and she said, Matt Reister, I've known you were going to run a lot longer than you knew you were going to run. She's watched us make these decisions before, and she's got a little bit more intuition than I do. So we're going to take that as a positive, and we're going to use that as an advantage. I've prepared a statement here, and I actually wrote it out. I get a little bit in trouble when I go off the cuff, and so we're going to kind of stick to the script, because I think there's some important things to say today about this race, about this district, and about where we're going. It was not long ago, our son Mason has been learning place values in math. And we were, a few weeks ago at supper time, we were sitting around the dinner table, and there's a whiteboard in our dining room right by the dinner table. And they were going through with me, updating me on the numbers, separated, a bunch of zeros, separated by commas, on the whiteboard that Jen and Mason had covered earlier that day. They're place values. So you've got hundreds, and you've got thousands, and you've got millions. Takes a second to remember what comes next when you're 7. Billions. And then the topic came up, Dad, why, I can't remember again, what comes after billions? Trillions. And so we started to talk about what gets measured in trillions. I stepped up to the whiteboard. I added another comma and another set of zeros. It's a big number. And in our family, I don't know about your family, when trillions comes up in our family, the conversation turns to the national debt, obviously. And I tried to explain the national debt in a way that a 7-year-old could understand that. And I don't know if I was effective or not, but I wrote the number $16 trillion on the whiteboard. And in round numbers, that's what America's credit card limit is. It was recently raised by politicians in Washington to that level. Then I added another number, 350 million, which is a rough estimate of the population of the United States. And then I grabbed a calculator. I divided $16 trillion by 350 million people. And I wrote the number on the board, and the number was $45,714.29. That represents the share that each American has in the financial national debt. There were 5 of us around our family's table that night, and so our family's share of the national debt is over $225,000. That happens in household after household down the street, in every community across the whole state of Iowa and across the entire United States. $45,714.29 times however many people are living there. Not to mention a mortgage they might have, a business loan they might have, or other obligations they might have. Somehow, even though I spend a lot of time thinking and talking about this kind of stuff, the reality of that hit me in a whole new way that night. One of the reasons I'm running for the Iowa State Senate is to put a stop to out-of-control government spending. Thank you. And furthermore, to put a stop to the passing on of mountains of debt to the generations that follow us, the generations that were represented at my dinner table that night, the peers of these young kids, who are the sons and daughters of our friends, some of whom are in the room today, and their kids and their grandkids. Someone might ask, but Reister, you don't understand politics. It wasn't the state government that ran up $16 trillion in debt. That was the federal government that did that. So what does any of this have to do with you running for Iowa Senate? And I'd say that's a fair question. And then I'd hurry on to say that the same destructive philosophy which has driven the federal government to drive debt up to that level is alive and well in the state of Iowa. For example, in recent years, prior to 2010 in particular, state government spending grew significantly despite the fact that our population remained relatively unchanged. This underlying destructive philosophy that drives this behavior is the idea that big government is good and that there's really not many problems that more government programs or more government spending can't fix. I, for one, don't buy into this philosophy, and neither do the majority of voters in this Senate district, and neither do the majority of voters across the state of Iowa. Instead, we know that when government is limited, individuals and communities actually have more liberty and more freedom to solve their own problems, overcome their own challenges, and pursue their own dreams. And we know that with more freedom and more liberty, individuals and communities are allowed to experience these accomplishments much more efficiently, much more effectively, and with much more dignity, fulfillment, and satisfaction. Liberty and freedom foster innovation and economic growth. They foster job creation and financial stability. These are all positive aspects of a government that is limited in size and scope, a government that is smaller than the current government we are living under today. And prosperous are the individuals, the communities, the states, and the nations who pursue and who defend this liberty and freedom and who hold the line against government, which by its very nature seeks to expand and control beyond its intended role. Because so many of us believe this, I'm running to promote an economic environment where free enterprise can create new career opportunities. I want to take this business right here as an example, Scratch Cupcakery. Who would have thought that a person could make a living serving a community this size with just one item on the menu, cupcakes? I'll tell you who. She's here, Natalie. She's making boxes right now to send cupcakes out the door. When she was working in a completely different area, she got the itch to try something new, and you know what they say, scratch where it itches. She had a dream. She took a pretty big risk. She worked hard and learned from some early lessons. Today she employs over 60 people, some of them full-time. They work hard. She treats them well. They like being here. Everybody's happy. Who couldn't be? They're making cupcakes all day. It's a great story. And parenthetically, one of the reasons I've already come to love running for office is because you get a chance as a candidate to learn stories like this, to hear and be inspired by businesses that just kind of are brought out of someone's mind and made happen by hard work and determination and creativity. Helping increase this kind of private sector activity should be a top goal of every elected office holder, but it simply cannot happen with greater and greater frequency when an ever-growing government sector continues to bloat and ooze into every nook and cranny of our society and our economy. Natalie's is truly a remarkable story, and unfortunately, it's an exception to the rule in this era of big government, regulation, and taxation, which we live in today. We need the free market giving opportunity to people like Natalie all over the community and all over the state who've got an itch and a dream and a determination to get after it. If this state and this nation are going to get back on track, we need the free market giving birth to innovative ideas incubated in the minds of creative entrepreneurs. So I will fight to shrink government, to cut government spending, to remove burdensome government regulations, and decrease taxes so that hardworking, risk-taking employers like Natalie and her hardworking employers and others like them up and down Main Street and across this district and throughout Iowa can build businesses, create jobs, and keep more of the fruits of their own labor, because when that happens, everybody benefits. And we want everybody to benefit. In many ways, this election will be fundamentally about the size and the scope of government. One side says government should be bigger, should be more controlling, and should be more expensive. The other side says government should be smaller and smarter. Yes. As for me and the majority of voters in this district and across this state, we're with smaller, smarter government. Yeah. In addition to pursuing those broad principles for the sake of a healthier, freer, more prosperous Iowa, I'm excited to hear from the people of this district about what can be done from their perspectives to get government off our backs so we, our families, our businesses, and our communities can succeed to the greatest degree possible. Remember, our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. I'm committed to serving as a conduit of pro-prosperity ideas from we the people to our government. After all, that's what a representative republic is all about. As the campaign unfolds, and as I get around in the neighborhoods, as I hear from many of you who are here today or watching on video, I'll be outlaying more specifically where I'm at on a host of important issues. Respectfully, I'll also take the opportunity to articulate where my opponent and I differ. Respectfully, so that the voters have a clear understanding of what they'll have in a senator compared to what they've had in a senator if I'm elected. Please visit our website. It's all over the back here, mattforiowa.com. It was just launched a few hours ago, still needs some work, so please bear with us. We'll get it up to speed. You'll be able to leave feedback, you'll be able to sign up as a volunteer, and even contribute financially to support our cause. The district lines have been redrawn. The numbers are in our favor, and we believe the wind is blowing our direction. Even so, it will take every ounce of support you can muster and every ounce of effort my team and I can give if we are to succeed in November, and we are planning on succeeding in November. If you're into social media, please take the time to get connected on Facebook or Twitter. Stay tuned to our YouTube page for video updates throughout the campaign. Ultimately, if you're legally registered in my district, I hope to earn your vote. I hope to earn the honor to represent you in Des Moines on a mission to restore government back to its rightful size and scope. I thank you for taking the time to being with us, taking the time for being with us today. Thank you for taking the time, if you're watching on video, to take a couple minutes and watch this on video. I look forward to seeing everybody out and around we will be. Other than that, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for one of those cupcakes. Thank you very much for your time, and let's go get them.